Hey Film Buffs, welcome back to Film Feature 43 with Season 4 Volume 2 of Stranger Things ending on a cliffhanger, and how pretty close we were with our theory about Season 4. I figured it'd be fun to throw out a theory about Season 5 before it ever goes into production, and probably 2 to 3 years before we ever see it on Netflix. So with it being the final season, I figured we could take what we know from Season 4 and what we have heard from the Duffer Brothers and cast members and kind of mesh it together and make a theory. So let's get into what we already know. The first thing we know is Henry was the mastermind between Season 1 and Season 4 of everything that we saw happen, but instead of going against the Mind Flayer, he was actually working with the Hive Mind and the Mind Flayer to exact his revenge on 11 and bring the Upsidedown and our world together. He's essentially using the Mind Flayer as a tool, but we also find out that the Mind Flayer isn't just the highest point on the Hive Mind hierarchy, but he's actually gives a piece of himself to bring the Demodogs and Demogorgons to life. At least that's what the Russian guard said in the Russian prison in Season 4. We also know that the cause of the earthquakes in Season 4 was Vecna ripping holes in between our reality and the Upside Down, and he did succeed in doing so, breaking the dam between our two realities by sacrificing 4 lives. We also know for sure that Will and 11 have a tie to the Upside Down, to the Mind Flayer, and to Vecna. But there are some other characters that also may have a tie. We have Max, who is in a coma somewhere out in the Upside Down. We have Nancy, who Vecna has shown the future to, or at least his version of the future to, so she could have a tie to the Upside Down. And two that a lot of people forget is Dustin in Season 2 was sprayed in the face by particles from the Upside Down, and Hopper was as well. So all these characters could play a big role in defeating Vecna in the future. We also know from Will that Vecna...
And he's hurt. He's hurting. But he's still alive. And he's not going to stop. Ever. Not until he's taken everything and everyone.
And finally, we know from the Duffer Brothers that somewhere in this season, there's going to be a time jump. Originally, they said it was to kind of counteract the fact that 20-something-year-old adults are still playing 14-year-old kids, and they kind of want to close the age gap between those two ages. But I just saw an interview where they're talking about going right into the action from Season 4 into Season 5, so that doesn't really mesh well with the time gap thing. But my theory is going to kind of rely on the time gap, so that's what they said first. That's what we're going to go with. Having a time jump in the story would make sense for the fact that Vecna needs to recover, and 11, kind of like in Star Wars, where Luke leaves Yoda before he learns everything that he knows about the Force. 11 was told that she still has things to learn, so that would give her time to learn more about her powers and become more powerful to take on Vecna. What that means more than anything is the characters are going to have to leave Hawkins, Indiana somehow. It's not going to be able to go right into the action that we saw at the end of Season 4 in the cliffhanger, because that wouldn't make sense in a time jump kind of way. The government will probably have to quarantine off the Rift Zone. We see helicopters flying through it. And if not just the Rift Zone, all of Hawkins, Indiana. And they believe that 11 was responsible for all the deaths that were taking place in Hawkins, so they probably think she's responsible for these rifts into the Upside Down. So she's not safe there. Also, Jim is supposed to be dead. He just can't waltz back in and become sheriff of Hawkins again. And a cabin right along the dead zone of where this rift is taking place probably isn't the best place to hide. So what I think is going to happen right off the bat is 11's ready to go in and find Vecna in the Upside Down and take him on right there and then. But a bunch of trigger-happy feds are going to bust in like they did in Nina, and they're going to have to flee Hawkins. The whole crew's going to have to leave, except for probably Max. And like I said, a lot of characters have ties to the Upside Down. So if they remain in Hawkins, there's a potential for not only real-world bad guys, like the GIs coming in and shooting them up, but Vecna making mental contact and attacking them through their minds. So they gotta get away from Hawkins somehow. You see, the Duffers are not shy with doing homages to other people's creative works, and with exploding blood balloons and murderous bullies and a mental monster running around that uses your fear and past trauma to kill you doesn't sound familiar, that's probably because you've never read the book or seen the movie of Stephen King's It. And in It, after the monster is defeated for the first time, the main characters leave the town because essentially it's cursed, but the monster calls them back. Meaning that once Vecna is ready for round 2, he's going to call the party back to Hawkins. And how's he going to do that? Probably use Max for bait. All of the other characters have the luxury of leaving Hawkins, but Max is in a coma. There's really not a way for her to leave. I mean, her body might be able to leave, but Vecna has her mind somewhere out there. And 11 is going to continue through the years, if that's how long this time gap is going to be, looking for Max. And when Vecna's ready to go for round 2 with 11, he's going to let her find Max and draw her back to Hawkins. And we know from It that if one of the people come back to the town without the group, that person's gonna die. So the entire group of the Hawkins party is gonna have to come back to fight Vecna, save Max, save Hawkins, and potentially the world. With that being said, it's highly likely with this being the last season that some of the main characters are gonna die. And my money on for number 1 is Hopper. I think some people were misunderstanding the Kate Bush connection with Max. It's not so much that the music is what is saving Max from the fate of the other 3 of Vecna's victims, but it's actually the memories behind the music. If we remember back to Will in Season 1, how he survived the Upsidedown is through the song
Should I stay or should I go?
by The Clash. And also in Season 2, they used that same song to help him escape the Mind Flayer.
Do you remember the first time I played you this? Mom and Dad were both arguing in the next room. So I played you the mixtape I made you.
And we see these happy memories coming through in Season 3, specifically when 11 frees Billy from the control of the Mind Flayer with his happy memory, and when Max is using her memories of the snowball to escape Vecna. This is the key to staying alive in the Upside Down. But we see through the series that happy memories aren't the only thing that fuels 11's powers. Also, whenever she's angry, she can have extreme bursts of power.
He had found his strength in a memory from his past. Something that made him sad, but also angry. Do you maybe have a memory like that?
So that's why I think that Hopper's gonna die, and that's going to trigger an inner power that 11 doesn't know she has. And with her being our link to the Upside Down, I believe she's either going to overexert herself and completely wipe out her own power, or make a sacrifice of herself and die. Because if she's able to still connect to the Upside Down and have these powers, the problem is just going to keep returning. It's never going to go away unless they completely destroy the Upside Down. So I think 11 and Hopper are definitely going to die, or 11's at least going to lose her powers in Season 5. And another character that I can see dying, since it's been teased so many times with how often he's had the crap beat out of him, is Steve, with his relationship with Nancy kind of flourishing and then drawing back in this last season. I think killing him off would be an emotional punch for not only the characters, who everybody in the show has come to love, but us outside the show love Steve as well. I think he's my favorite character, and to see him go would be an emotional punch that the characters need to take down Vecna. So with all that being said, I do believe that emotion is going to have to play a big part in destroying Vecna at the end of the season. But that's what I think. Let me know, do you guys think there's going to be a time jump in the beginning, middle, end of the season, like a where are they now type thing? Is Max going to be the drawback? Is the death of Hopper going to be what puts 11 over the edge to destroy Vecna? Let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.